Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 64. When given the opportunity, deliver excellence and never quit. Robert Rodriguez.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome all my indie film hustlers out there. This is Alex Ferrari, your humble host of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. Now, if you're tired of spending tons and tons of money to get into film festivals, head over to filmfestivaltips.com. That's filmfestivaltips.com to download my free ebook on the 6 tips on how I got into over 600 film festivals worldwide and paid for only a fraction of those film festivals. So definitely check that out, guys. Now, you guys know how much I value education and how much we try to bring good education to you guys every day for free through the podcast and through the blog, but also giving you guys paid courses to take your education up to the next level. So with all that said, today's sponsor is Skillshare. Man, when I checked out Skillshare for the first time, I was blown away. Skillshare.com allows you to go in and become a member, and you have access to thousands of courses. And there are a ton of filmmaking courses out there as well. So if you want to get the Indie Film Hustle discount, which is 99 cents for 3 months, for 90 days, head over to indiefilmhustle.com/Skillshare. That's indiefilmhustle.com/Skillshare. $1 for 90 days of as much film education as you want to get, as well as all other sorts of things, is a bargain, man. So definitely check it out, guys. So, guys, today's episode is one that might cause a little bit of controversy, but you know what? Something I was talking to a few of my buddies about the other day, and I was like, you know what? I got to talk about this because, I fell into this trap as well early on in my career. A lot of people get so caught up in what they shoot their movie on. Like, I shot this on the Red Epic. I shot this on the Weapon. I shot this on the Alexa. I shot this, you go all the way up to the top level of the highest end cameras, and then you go all the way to the bottom. So I'm like, I shot this on my iPhone. I shot this on VHS. I shot this on whatever. And that might have worked 10 to 12 years ago, 15 years ago. Like when I did my film Broken, I shot it on mini DV. At the time, mini DV tape. At the time, there wasn't a lot of movies being shot on mini DV, but I remember there was another movie with Katie Holmes called Pieces of April that was shot on the Canon XL, as well as 28 Days. Danny Boyle shot it on the Canon XL, again, mini DV tape. And that was kind of a marketing thing back then. And now currently with Tangerine, that was shot on the iPhone. That's a little bit of a marketing campaign, a little bit of a marketing thing too. But at the end of the day, guys, no one gives a crap. The reason why people care about Tangerine is because it's a good movie, that people care about it. It's a good story. People don't care about what you shot on. It's not impressive anymore. Before it was like, oh, I shot this on 35 millimeter, and that was a big deal. But nowadays, no one cares if you shoot this on the Weapon or the Epic, or if you shot 7K or 5K or any of that crap. It's all fluff. It's all BS. It's about story, guys. It's all about story. So please stop marketing your film by using like, I shot this on the Red Epic, I shot this 5K, I shot this on the Alexa, or I shot this on an iPhone, or I shot this on a VHS tape, or anything like that. You know what? At the end of the day, that's all nice and dandy, but it has to be a good movie. No one really cared about, it's like the olden days, like when Robert Rodriguez came out with El Mariachi, a $7,000 feature film. He was the first guy to do that. He was the first guy to come out and said he made a movie for $7,000. By the way, I'm gonna talk a second about that $7,000. The movie you and I saw on DVD or in the theater or on Blu-ray, that movie does not cost $7,000. That movie cost probably about $1.5 to $2 million when they had to redo everything. So that's something else. It's called marketing for a reason. They like, oh, it was made for $7,000. Yeah, he made it for $7,000, but the version we saw was not the $7,000 version. It was the $1.1 million or $1.5 million or however much they spent. But I know they spent over $1 million on it because they had to redo the audio tracks completely. They had to remaster everything because he shot it all on 16 millimeter film, had it transferred to 3/4 inch tape For any of you guys who don't know what 3/4 inch tape is, Google it. It is an old technology, very old technology. And he edited tape to tape back in the day. There's no way in hell that master tape that he made for $7,000 was transferred onto a film, onto a film stock, and then projected in theaters and transferred to DVDs and all the other formats that they eventually transferred on. So back in the day, you could say, like, I made this movie for $7,000. And I did it with Broken. I marketed it as a movie that I made for $8,000. And it was very impressive back then, with 100 visual effects shots and so on and so forth. Today's world is not that world anymore, guys. It's not something that anyone cares about. No one cares that you made this movie for $5 because there are movies being made for $5 every day, for $10 every day. So you're either going to be the cheapest movie ever made, which now everyone can make the cheapest movie ever made because anyone could just grab an iPhone and go make a movie, or you're the most expensive movie ever made, $100 million, $200 million, $300 million. So, guys, no one cares what format you shot on. No one cares what your budget is. No one cares how much struggle you went through or that you jumped off a window to get this shot or not. No one cares. No one cares about the struggles it took you to get to where you are in making your movie. That only goes so far. If the movie sucks, no one cares. They only start caring if the movie's really, really good. And then it just adds to the flavor, if you will, of the movie and the whole story behind it. Like The Reverend story, it was such a huge, a lot of people say that the making of the movie is more interesting than the movie itself. I would argue to say, yes, I agree with that. But the only reason people even cared about all this craziness is because the movie was good. Same thing with Apocalypse Now. It took 3 years to freaking make that. And Francis Ford Coppola almost shot himself. People only care about that because it's good. You know what was also a horrible experience to make a movie? Heaven's Gate. If you guys ever seen a movie called Heaven's Gate, it's one of the worst bombs of all time. No one cares how hard that movie was to make because it didn't do well. No one cared. It's not that great of a film. That's why people don't care about it. You know what they care about? They want a good story. They want to see if you can tell a good story. They want to see if you have, not only can you tell a good story, which I think is the most important thing. Production quality can go away. Audio, try to keep audio as best you can, guys. But visual quality can go away as long as you've got a good story. If you got a good story that is compelling and you can see the people on the screen and you can hear them clearly, and it's not like super polished or super anything, that's what people want, man. That's what people really are attracted to. They want good stories. We have such a lack of good storytellers out there now. All we have is people just, so obsessed with the pixels and the cameras and all these other things that they try to throw so many smoke and mirrors up. And believe me, I know about smoke and mirrors because I've done it with a lot of my projects. You create smoke and mirrors, but at the end of the day, it has to be a story. It has to touch somebody in one way, shape, or form. And that's what's the most important thing, guys. So, I have nothing against gear. I have nothing against, analyzing your tools and seeing which tool works best for you. But don't obsess about it. Just worry about story. I just discovered, and I just did an article about this director who has blown my mind, and his name is Joe Swanberg. Joe Swanberg has made over 20 feature films in 10 years. In 1 year, he made 6 feature films, all very low budget. He comes from the mumblecore movement. If you don't know what the mumblecore movement is of independent film, definitely just Google it and you'll understand what it is. They started basically, him and Mark Duplass and all those guys, they started making movies back in the early 2000s with no money, literally like $50, $100. They just grabbed the camera, whichever camera they had, and they went and shot a movie with their friends. Audio sucked, visual sucked, but they told good stories. Mark Duplass's movie, The Puffy Chair, was a big, huge mumblecore fan. Lena Dunham from HBO Girls started out this way. They just went and grabbed the camera and started telling stories. And Joe Swanberg, I just started getting into his work, and I've been blown away by how he's been able to do what he does. And if you guys have not checked out the article I wrote, I'm going to put a link of it in the show notes at indiefilmhustle.com/064. I'll put a link of Joe, the keynote address that Joe did at this year's South by Southwest. And he breaks down everything about how much money he makes, what the financials are about his movies, how he makes those movies for $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 or so on. And he just finished making a movie, his biggest movie ever, which was $500,000, And then he went straight back down after $500,000. He did another movie for like 50 grand with Anna Kendrick, Olivia Wilde, Jack London, and Ron Livingston, called Drinking Buddies. And, I've just been blown away at how prolific he's been. And he's basically the embodiment of what this whole podcast is about. Go out and tell a story that's important to you. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show that you feel like you really can do something with, okay? Don't allow technology to get in your way. Don't allow other people to give you permission to go make a movie. You can do this on your own. You can grab a camera, you can grab your iPhone. Just make sure you work on that story. You make sure that you work on something that is important to you and that you can tell well. And that's going to be more important than any camera you use, because trust me, I've worked on a lot of projects in my life and through my post-production company. And I've had things shot 5K, 6K, 4K on the biggest budgets ever. And a lot of times they suck. I'm sorry to tell you. And some of the most humble movies I've worked on because of budget, shot on the DSLR, shot on a 7D, shot on a small camera, even on an iPhone, I've blown me away because of the passion, the love, the energy behind the story that they're trying to tell, the belief of what they're trying to do. So that's where you guys have to be, all right? Don't get caught up with the gear. Gear is great. We love gear. Without gear, we can't make our movies. And obviously, the bigger the camera, the more fun you can have with it, the better the image is, great. But just learn how to tell a story. And I'm going to just end this podcast with a great quote by the amazing John Cassavetes. Film is, to me, just unimportant, but people are very important. So don't forget that, guys, when you're making your movies. It's not about the gear. It's not about the format. It's not about how much you spend. It's not about the struggle you go through. We all go through struggles to make our projects. We all go through struggles to make our art, to make our films. No one cares about that. They only care about one thing. Can you tell a story? Now, guys, I hope I wasn't too rough with you on this episode, but I really care about what you guys are doing out there. And if I can inspire you to tell better stories in one way, shape, or form, that's why I'm here. That's what we're trying to do at Indie Film Hustle, to help you guys out. So good luck with all your projects. Keep going forward, all right? Again, if you want to get those links to Joe Swansburg's keynote, which is a must listen to, as well as the Mark Duplass keynote about how to make a movie for $1,000, I'm going to put both links in the show notes at indiefilmhustle.com/064. And as always, guys, please head over to filmmakingpodcast.com and leave us a great review for the podcast. It really helps us out a lot. And I really want to get the word out on Indie Film Hustle and what we're trying to do, help as many filmmakers out as possible. So, and share, guys, share everything we post as much as you can. If you like what we're doing, please share it and on your social media, email, however, get the word out on what we're trying to do, guys, because we're really trying to help as many people, as many filmmakers as we can. So thanks again, as always. Keep that hustle going. Keep that dream alive, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.